doing this. Hare Krishna, welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. And first, let's do the Mangalacharan prayers, and then I will share where I am. As you can visibly see, I am in the car. But first, we will start with Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenbandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So, as you can see, I'm in the car. We have a small gathering of devotees here. Actually, two of the devotees, very, very sweet, wonderful devotees of our temple, are leaving Portland area. They are moving to Texas for various reasons, job related and other reasons. So there is a little, farewell for them. So they have been part of the temple congregation, have been very dear to us for, ever since we moved to Portland 17 or 18 years ago. So we have known them for such a long time. And it's very sad to, see them leave. But, it is, they're moving to Dallas, Texas. It is our loss and it is the gain of the Dallas devotees. But anyhow, like Srila Prabhupada said, we are all connected together with each other through the transcendental chanting of Hare Krishna. So there is bodily separation, but at a spiritual plane, everybody is connected. I have no realization, I have no deep understanding of that. It's just a theoretical concept for me, but still, at least by repeating those words, I hope the concept will become a little bit clear to me sometime. So, that's why I am in the car. That gathering has started here, but I didn't want to cancel the class because we will not be having the class. Again, I keep forgetting the dates. Yeah, next time we will have the class, but after that we won't. I said that I'll be traveling out, but that has changed. I will be in town, but some of my very close friends will be visiting me. So I have some very severe personal commitments on the weekend of 6th, 7th August. And so we won't have class. I didn't want to cancel too many times because the main purpose of this class is to keep all the devotees engaged and connected to Krishna Katha. So, we cannot cancel Krishna Katha because, our conditioning is such that, out of sight, out of mind. And mainly for myself, if I don't prepare, I don't read on the weekend, I get disconnected. So I didn't want that. So I wanted to stay connected. And that's why I thought, let's do it this way. And today we can have a shorter class, maybe 40, 45 minutes. And then we can have longer class. So at least we get to stay connected for some time. Staying connected to Krishna, that is, and Krishna Katha. It is said that, very wonderful, there is one bhajan, Hari Ananta Hari Katha Ananta. So does anybody understand the meaning of that? Anybody who knows the Awadhi language or kind of a little derivative of Hindi? Hari Anant, Hari Katha Ananta. Anyone?
The name Hari itself is something very blissful and makes us happy by chanting his name. And by listening to his stories, again, it makes us more happier, like to the extreme we'll be, I suppose. Is it correct,
Okay.
Guruji?
I have heard another meaning, so I can share that with you. Anybody else?
Hari is God. Ananta, according to me, is endless, never ending, infinite, whatever you call it. Hari Ananta, Harikatha, Ananta. Again, I will say Harikatha means God stories. Here, Ananta means the happiness that you derive from there. Infinite.
Okay.
I can make out something like that, but I do not know the meaning.
Very nice. Again, slight interpretational differences can be there.
Harikatha is infinite, and Hari life is also infinite.
Very nice. Yes, all of you are very close. At least there's no right or wrong. I don't know the right or wrong, but what I have heard is it says Hari Ananta, Hari Katha Ananta. What it means, Hari is of course Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu or whoever, one of the so many incarnations of the Lord are there, Lord Rama and all, they're all Hari. Anyway, Hari is Anant. Anant means unending. Ant means end, Anant means unending. But Hari Katha Ananta, it's even more unending than the Lord himself. So this is just a sweet composition by some devotee. Basically, it is glorifying the Katha of the Lord more than the Lord himself. So we should all engage in Hari Katha. Just a sweet line, Hari Ananta, Hari Katha Ananta. Very beautiful. Anyway, so engaging in Hari Katha is very, very blissful, very soothing, very pleasing to the heart. So, and okay, I went into this because I wanted to share that I didn't want to cancel the class for this reason. 1 second. Okay. Okay. So today I thought, we will talk about Srila Sanatan Goswami. Yesterday was his disappearance day. The day that he left this planet. So he left in 1558. So somebody can, do the math, how many years ago, but probably more like probably 500 plus years ago. So he or not 500 plus, less than 500 minus years ago. But yesterday was his disappearance day. And we celebrate the disappearance day of Acharyas. And Sanatan Goswami is a foremost Acharya in our disciplic succession, in our Guru Parampara. He is a direct disciple of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is none other than Krishna himself. He is an incarnation of Krishna in the Kali Yuga. So,
roughly 460 years,
463. Thank you for. So 460. This is the 463rd disappearance anniversary of Sri Sanatan Goswami. So Sanatan Goswami and Rupa Goswami are two of the most important acharyas in our disciplic succession. And we are all, when we recite the Mangalacharan prayers, the second verse that we recite is towards Rupa Goswami. So Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami were brothers. Somebody should mute, perhaps. So I'm talking from my phone. I don't have all the same controls as the I don't know how to mute everyone. Anyway, so please mute yourself if you're not speaking anything. Okay, I'm trying to see. I don't know. There is no mute button for others, for me to mute others, even though I'm the host. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami were brothers. And Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami occupy the highest position among the hearts of all the followers of Srila Prabhupada, all the followers of ISKCON. So if you are considering Srila Prabhupada in your heart to be your Acharya, your foremost Acharya, you need to have utmost respect for Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. The second verse that we sing in the Mangalacharan, it starts, the first one is Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Second one, Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. What is the meaning of this verse? How does it start? I forgot. Om Jnanatimirandhasya
Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam.
Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam. So Mataji, you should help me, okay? Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale. So Bhutale means this earth planet, Bhu. So Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam. Manobhishtam Sthapitam. So whatever was in the heart and mind of Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam, whatever was in the mind and heart of Shri Chaitanya, Sthapitam Yena Bhutale, that was established on this planet Earth, which means that whatever was the vision, whatever was the purpose of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was made reality by, let's see who. Somebody made it into a reality. The vision or the desire of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam, whatever was there in his man, Sthapita, he established it where? Bhutale. Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam, that Rupa. So that Rupa word is referring to Rupa Goswami. So Swayam Rupa, so that person Rupa, Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam. Kada means when will he give? Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam. What is it after that? Dadat. Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. So when Dadati means to give, when will he give me Swapadantikam, the shelter of his feet, Pada. So this is a prayer to Sri Rupa Goswami, which says that Rupa Goswami who established the vision or the purpose or the desires of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself on this planet, when will he give me shelter under his lotus feet? So this is a prayer for Rupa Goswami. So that is very, very important because this whole verse is dedicated to Sri Rupa Goswami. So Sanatan Goswami is the elder brother of Rupa Goswami. And he is equally respected by us, by all the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the followers of Srila Prabhupada, is equally respected, just like Rupa Goswami. So since yesterday was the disappearance day of Sanatan Goswami, I thought I will share with you a little bit about this wonderful, great, huge, enormous Acharya. He is like the, in United States history, if you study US history, like George Washington or, Jefferson, Thomas Jefferson. He's like, unforgettable people in the history of Vaishnavism. So, they occupy such an important position. Like you cannot study US history without studying George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, or Abraham Lincoln, or Indian history without studying, about Mahatma Gandhi or, Jawaharlal Nehru. Like that, you cannot study Gaudiya Vaishnavism without knowing in depth about Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. They are absolute, like huge generals, huge personalities in this, in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So I thought by sharing with them, we will glorify Rupa Goswami. So they were both brothers. There were three brothers, and the third brother's name was Anupam. So he got married, Anupam. And so he didn't become a sannyasi later, but he gave birth. His duty was to give birth and to raise a great Goswami. The third brother, whose name is Anupam. The first two are Rupa and Sanatan. I'm just going to the third brother first. So it is not that Anupam had any smaller contribution than Rupa and Sanatan. That was not the case. One can arguably say he had a bigger contribution because he gave birth, he was the father, and raised nicely an even bigger Goswami, that is Jiva Goswami. So in the 6 Goswamis, we see Jiva Goswami as well. And he wrote more scriptures, more spiritual literatures than Rupa and Sanatan Goswami combined. So we'll talk about Jiva Goswami sometime later. But, another, if Rupa and Sanatan are the George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, then Jiva Goswami is like Abraham Lincoln or something like that. I'm drawing some vague analogies, but just to give you an idea of the importance. So there were 3 brothers, and both these brothers, all 3 brothers, but especially Rupa and Sanatan, from very childhood, they were very, very devotionally minded, extremely devotionally minded. And both of them were they were from a Brahmin family, but both of them were very, very brilliant, very expert in understanding philosophy and Vedic books and Vedic literatures. They had a very good understanding. And they grew up in that way. Their parents brought them up, all 3 children, in a very, very devotional, nice way. So one time, Sanatan Goswami, when he was a youth, he had a dream that a very young sannyasi came into the dream of Sanatan Goswami and told him that sometime later you should give up this worldly affairs. Don't become too attached to the worldly affairs. You have a bigger mission in life. And he did not know who that person was, a very young sannyasi, very bright. His face was brilliant. And no surprises for all of you. That was none other than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But he appeared in the dream of Sanatan Goswami. And then when he got up next morning, he went running to his brother Rupa and told him, you know what I saw in my dream? I saw this, very young sannyasi, and he told me, don't get entangled in this worldly affairs. You have some bigger mission in life waiting for you. Rupa Goswami said, you know what? I had the exact same dream. And they both, exchanged their dreams. And that's when they knew that there is a bigger purpose in their life awaiting them. So both of them in this way were, growing up very nicely. And then, and they became highly respected in the community, the 2 brothers, as being very, very learned, very devotional and all that. Then the ruler so this was in the 1500s, as you can imagine. The ruler, and this was in Bengal. And the Bengal was ruled by a Muslim king. At that time, pretty much all of India was under Muslim rule. And that king's name was Nawab Hussain Shah. So he was having some trouble maintaining the state. And some of the, so to say, the Hindus and all those were giving him trouble. So he wanted to find a way of how to suppress this kind of a rebellion and win the sort of the curb or crush the rebellion or whatever to make peace or keep the stuff peaceful. So he went to these 2 brothers. He knew that these 2 brothers are very highly respected in the society. And he went to them and said, you should work for me. And he said, if you don't work for me, I'm going to curb this rebellion or curb all these people with force. And a lot of people will die, and there'll be a big massacre. And like that, he went and threatened Rupa and Sanatan. And so they agreed to work for him and said, okay, don't go and kill anybody, don't harm anybody, we will work for you. Because if they work for him, then he could tell everybody else, see, your people are working for me, They will make sure you are not in trouble. They will work for me like a political solution. So like that, he forced these two brothers to work for him. And he gave them, since they were so bright, he gave them very, very important roles or very important um, position in his ministry. Rupa Goswami was given the position of Dabir Khas, which means the principal secretary of the Nawab. And Sanatan Goswami was Sakar Malik, which means he was the minister for taxes, collecting taxes. So, you know, collecting taxes was a very important function, because at that time it was not like a federal government or something like that. You had all these other states whom you had captured or conquered, and they have to pay taxes to him, so that, you know, he would get more revenue to go and capture, wage wars and capture more states. That was the business of the rulers at that time. So collecting taxes was not a very easy job. And because the people who are paying taxes are not very favorable, they are the ones who have been captured or who have been sort of absorbed into the kingdom forcibly and are being forced to pay taxes. Somebody needs to mute. Please mute. Okay. So like this, they were working very reluctantly for the Nawab. And then they heard about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when they heard about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they realized that this was the sannyasi that had come in our dream long back. So they wrote a letter to him explaining their situation and introducing themselves and explaining their situation, how they are wanting to, come out of this sort of jail, or so to say, forced occupation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told them that right now is not the time. I will tell you when the time is right. Right now, externally, you keep working. Internally, you focus on your bhakti. Read Srimad Bhagavatam, recite Srimad Bhagavatam, and he gave them this instruction. Externally, just keep doing your work. Internally, you do your bhakti. So they when they got this response, they continued to be in that way. Somebody again, please mute. Okay. So then finally, they were able to meet the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was on his way to Vrindavan. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was residing in Puri, Jagannath Puri, which is in modern day Orissa. And he was making a trip to Vrindavan. So as you can imagine, going from Jagannath Puri into Bengal and Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, like that, to Vrindavan. You can imagine the geography of that northern India. So at a place called Ramakeli, they met. And very, very humbly, Rupa and Sanatan Goswami approached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and took initiation from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave them the names Rupa and Sanatan, the two brothers. So that became their initiated names. So, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave them the instructions. Your purpose in life, he revealed to them. He told them that now you must go to Vrindavan. Now is the time. Now you go to Vrindavan, give up all your worldly affairs, and your job is to write books, write the scriptures. He gave them full empowerment. Empowerment, not like a authority, but through the heart, he transferred all the knowledge. The entire Vedic knowledge was transferred from the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the hearts of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. We will see later, they also meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and verbal instructions were also passed down by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which are documented in Chaitanya Charitamrita. But in just one shot, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowered, that is called spiritual empowerment. He empowered Rupa and Sanatan Goswami with all the spiritual knowledge, all the spiritual potency so that they could go and write books and disseminate this knowledge to the people so that they can become devotees, they can go on their spiritual paths. He said also, there are the lost places of the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna's pastimes happened 5,000 years ago, and those places have now been lost. Vrindavan was pretty much a just like a jungle, or just like a farmland where farming and agriculture was being done. But where all are the places within Vrindavan where the various pastimes happened, nobody knew, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than Krishna, and he had empowered spiritually Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. They would be able to go to Vrindavan and just identify, aha, this is through their spiritual vision, they were able to identify the various places of pastimes of Lord Krishna. There is a very beautiful song by Narottam Das Thakur. I may not remember the lyrics very clearly. Ech hai Gosai jab braja koilo vas, Radha Krishna nitya lila korilo prakash. So, H. Hai Gosai, these 6 Goswamis, Jabe Braja Koilo Bas, when they were residing in Vraja, Vraja is the land of Vrindavan, Radha Krishna Nitya Leela, their eternal Leela, their eternal pastimes of Radha and Krishna, the places of their pastimes, Radha Krishna Nitya Leela Korilo Prakash. They threw light, they shed light on the places and the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So that was another responsibility endowed or entrusted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, to write books, to discover, rediscover the places. And the third responsibility was to rediscover or unearth the lost deities of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna, when he left the planet, his great-grandson Vajranabha had 3 principal deities of Lord Krishna made. The 3 most today in India or in the world for that matter, there are 3 most important deities of Lord Krishna which were carved or which were made 5,000, almost 5,000 years ago by the great-grandson of Lord Krishna himself, whose name was Vajranabha. And those deities are named the deity of Govindji, of Madan Mohanji, and of Gopinathji. So these are the 3 principal deities. All of those 3 to this date are in Rajasthan. So they were there in Vrindavan, they were installed in Vrindavan, but due to the invasion of the Muslim kings over the years, those deities had to be removed from their original temples and be taken away to Rajasthan, because the Rajput kings were able to protect their land. They were not still occupied by the Mughal kings. So the Pandits and the devotees of these deities who were, worshipping these deities for so many years, transported them in the beginning of the Muslim invasions during the 1100, 1200 AD range to Rajasthan for safekeeping and for their worship. And once the Rajput kings were so devoted, once they started worshipping those deities, at some time there are stories that the Pandits and the Pujaris, devotees of Vrindavan said, okay, now the situation is peaceful, please give back the deities. Rajput king said, no, sorry, this was a one-way transfer. Now the deities are ours. We are serving them and we cannot separate ourselves from the deities. So now the deities will stay here. And the deities also wanted to stay there. So we will see how those deities were recovered. And when they had been lost and they were recovered, and then they were sent to Rajasthan. But in the middle, they had been lost because somebody had buried them or somebody had hidden them. Something happened, and then they were rediscovered and sent to, installed in Vrindavan, and later on sent to Rajasthan during the Muslim invasions. And Muslim invasions happened twice, 2 times. First time by the Mughals or by the Muslim invasions in the initial 1112s. This second invasions happened by the time of Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb was a Mughal king, but he was very, very envious, extremely envious towards the Hindus. And his agenda was to break all the temples, break all the deities, and cause a lot of havoc. The previous Mughal kings were tolerant. Aurangzeb was extremely nasty. So at that time, the deities again had to be sent. That's when they were sent to Rajasthan. When the earlier invasions happened, they were hidden. So let me tell you the story of how Sanatan Goswami, when he was given the instruction, you go and rediscover the deities. Rupa Goswami discovered the Govindji deity. That's a beautiful story. We will reserve it for some other time when we'll share about Rupa Goswami on his disappearance day. But Sanatan Goswami rediscovered the deity of Madan Mohanji. So let me share that beautiful story with you. So one time, so this deity had been hidden, and over the years, it ended up in the house of a devotee. So some devotee in some village was serving the deity of Madan Mohanji. And very nicely, they were serving the deity. They had some small children who also were very attracted to the deity. So they would play with the deity of Madan Mohanji. So Sanatan Goswami was a mendicant. He was a monk or a sannyasi. He had taken sannyas. So he was going house to house begging and, getting some food, and, that's how he would sustain himself. That's what sannyasis do. And the rest of the time they spend in Krishna Katha. So when he went to this one house, he saw these children playing with the deity, and he did not know it was Madan Mohanji deity. So he told the parents, no, don't let your children play like this with the deity. Deity should be given more respect and should be, more, little bit more strict rules and all should be followed. So parents got little, okay, we will do that and all. So then he went away. Then in the night, Madan Mohanji came in the dream of Sanatan Goswami and said, my dear Sanatan Goswami, I am the same Madan Mohan deity that you saw in the house. First of all, I want to tell you two things. One thing, I am very happy in that house. I love that the children play with me. So don't tell them that, they should not do that. I like to be, interact with their children in that way. So they are very devotional family. So you should go and tell them that. Take back your words. Second thing is, now I want to be with you. You take care of me. And in his dream, he said, what? How can I take care of you? I am a mendicant. I don't even have my own hut. I go from place to place to place. He said, no, don't worry. Wherever you go, I will come with you. And no need to feed me anything. Even if you feed me dry chapati, whatever you eat for yourself, you offer to me, that will be enough. I will not ask for anything more. I will be happy with you with very minimal requirements, Madan Mohanji told him. So Sanatan Goswami said, fine, I will serve you. The Lord is asking. So how can you refuse? Next day, he went to the house of this devotee and told him, first he told him, very sorry, you are actually doing very nice service. Madan Mohanji came in my dream and told that, to go and apologize first. And secondly, he wanted to stay with me. So can you please give me the deity? That devotee said, you know what? We also had a dream. Madan Mohanji came in my dream also and said that I am very happy here with you, but I want a change of situation. Now I want to go with Sanatan Goswami. Tomorrow he will come to your house. You give me to him. But I have had a very long stay, very happy stay in your house. So they both exchanged their dreams, and then the deity of Madan Mohanji was handed over to Sanatan Goswami. So Sanatan Goswami was very happy, very nicely. He was serving the deity, but very modestly, very, very humbly he was serving. He used to make just some dry chapati, dry, whatever little he would get, he would offer to the deity, and he would spend his life just, in Krishna Katha, writing scriptures and doing his devotional activities. Then one day, now this is the greatness, now you will see, now this cannot be imitated. Don't get a wrong sense from what I'm going to tell you. Okay? This should never be imitated, should never be taken in the wrong sense. So one day, because these are transcendental, these are very, very, very high level interactions between purest of pure devotees of God and God himself. So one day, Madan Mohanji came in the dream of Sanatan Goswami and said, you know what, you're giving me these dry chapatis every day. There is not even any salt in it. So can you please put some salt in the chapatis? I like some salt. Sanatan Goswami said, there you go. I told you I will not be able to serve you nicely. First you said, I will be happy with whatever you give. Now you are saying, I want salt. Tomorrow you will say, I want sweets. Next day you will say, I want all these different items. How will I get all these items? I knew you will increase your demands. So if you want salt, why don't you yourself arrange it? You are the Supreme Lord. I am just a sannyasi. I don't have anything. So the Lord said, okay, fine. Let me make some arrangement so that I can get salt. And the Lord, so that was the dream. So next day, a beautiful thing happened. So Sanatan Goswami used to just, keep doing his bhajan and his devotional service towards Madan Mohanji and near the Yamuna river in Vrindavan. So at that time, a salesman, a trader, a businessman was sailing his boat through the Yamuna river full of salt. He was a salt merchant. And he was carrying a whole boat full of salt with himself in the boat. And at one place, I don't know if you know, but in rivers, there is sand at the bottom, and the boat got stuck in the sand and wouldn't move. There was a higher level of sand and the waters were lower, probably because of the tides or whatever may be the case. The water level was low and the boat hit a mound of sand and got stuck and wouldn't move. And the businessman was very worried. He tried a lot to make the boat move, but it wasn't moving. And he started getting worried that in the night, can you all hear me, by the way? I got a little pop-up saying, you all can hear me clearly?
We can hear.
Okay, great. Some pop-up came saying that audio device changed or connected, it said. So I thought it's disconnected so far. Anyway, so as long as you can hear me. So where was I?
Boat story.
Boat story. The boat was stuck. Yeah, so then he started thinking, if the boat doesn't move and in the night some dacoits might come or somebody might come and might steal my, merchandise. So he started panicking and he got off the boat, came to the bank of the river, started looking. There was nobody there. It was a jungle. Then he saw a small lamp in the distance and he thought there must be somebody there who would be able to help me. So he went in the direction of the lamp and he came to the hut or the small place where Sanatan Goswami was there. And he was worshipping Govindaji. So he said, Sannyasi, or, please help me. My boat is stuck and this and that. So Sanatan Goswami said, I am an old man. How can I help you? But this person who is standing here, he is the world's most powerful man. Why don't you ask him? He will definitely help you. But I cannot help. What can I do? I am helpless. But he is the most helpful person and the most powerful person in the whole universe. If anybody can help you, it is him. So that boatman very, very devotionally, very nicely prayed to Madan Mohanji. And then it started raining. As he was praying, rains came, which means now the water level will rise. So he immediately ran back to the boat, and he got on the boat. The water levels rose and the boat got released, and he was able to go to his destination. So like that, Madan Mohanji solved his problem. And when he went to the destination, he made huge profit. And as he was coming back, he saw Sanatan Goswami again on his return journey, and he came to Sanatan Goswami, and whatever profit he made, he gave it to Madan Mohanji. He said, "You are the rightful owner of this profit, not me." That entire profit was given back to Madan Mohanji. This is the beauty, or this is the activity, this is the mood of a devotee. So that salt merchant was also a devotee. And Sanatan Goswami also realized, aha, all this money has now been given to Madan Mohanji. So Madan Mohanji has made arrangement for his own salt. Remember, Madan Mohanji was saying, I want salt. So Sanatan Goswami made a huge temple for Madan Mohanji with that money. And that temple still stands to this date in Vrindavan. It is in fact the tallest, the biggest temple. If you are far away from Vrindavan, if you can see any one temple, it is the Madan Mohanji temple. It's made of red sandstone. And earlier there used to be 3 towers in the temple, but Aurangzeb came and broke 2 of the towers. Only 1 tower remains right now. If you Google for Madan Mohan Temple, Vrindavan, you will see thousands of pictures. So that was the temple where Madan Mohanji, and then with that money, Sanatan Goswami. So when pure devotees get any resources, they don't refuse. They use it. They don't use it for themselves. They use it for Krishna's service. So Sanatan Goswami built this enormous, wonderful, beautiful temple for Madan Mohanji and made all the arrangements, pujaris and other devotees, and it became the hub of Vrindavan. It was the first temple of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan in the modern time. There were temples thousands of years ago, but they were all gone. So from the modern Vrindavan that we know, this was the first temple ever built in Vrindavan. So this became the hub of Vrindavan. Devotees started coming, all wonderful worship and everything used to happen by all the money that was obtained from this thing. So like this, Sanatan Goswami established the worship of Madan Mohanji in Vrindavan. There are so many things to share with you about Sanatan Goswami, but time is short. So a couple of more things, let me just quickly share. This one will maybe a longer pastime, but let me share anyway. So if you remember, when Sanatan Goswami was working for Nawab Hussain Shah and he wanted to leave. So at that time, Rupa Goswami left first. So he just took off. He didn't inform Nawab. They both knew that if they tell Nawab Hussain Shah that they want to quit, they want to resign, or they want to retire, he would not let them retire. It wasn't a very happy relationship between Nawab Hussain Shah and the Goswamis. It was more a relationship of mutual benefit. Rupa and Sanatan Goswami were working for Nawab Hussain Shah so that there is peace in the community. And Nawab Hussain Shah was also able to rule with peace because they were working with him and all the Hindu community was quiet. So he would not want them to leave. So Rupa Goswami one day just left. Now Sanatan Goswami was telling Nawab Hussain Shah, yeah, Rupa Goswami is gone, he will come back. So there was no suspicion. But when Nawab Hussain Shah wanted to leave, Nawab Hussain Shah found, when Sanatan Goswami wanted to leave, Nawab Hussain Shah found out something fishy is going on. He went to his house and got him arrested and put Sanatan Goswami in jail. And when he was in jail, he didn't know what to do. But Rupa Goswami, before leaving, he knew that something like this might happen. So both were very rich. He was remunerating, the Nawab was remunerating the two Goswamis very nicely because they were doing very important job. So Rupa Goswami sent a letter to Sanatan, or not a letter, but through a secret spy or some, trustworthy person, informant. He sent a message to Sanatan Goswami that I have given some money, I have to one trusted person, you use that money somehow and get out of the jail. So Sanatan Goswami told the person who was the jailer that you take this money and you let me go. I am going to the Hindu version of Mecca, like that, because the Muslims have a lot of faith in Mecca, and Sanatan Goswami wanted to go to Vrindavan, which is nothing but like a Mecca for the Hindus. So he told him like that, and that jailer was a religious, or a person who believed in, had faith in God, in Allah, or So he understood what is Mecca, and he said, why am I kept in jail? Take this money, don't tell anyone. I want to go to our Mecca. So he understood that, and they made some plot where, in the night, he let Sanatan Goswami escape. So like that, Sanatan Goswami escaped from the jail, and there was one servant along with Sanatan Goswami. His name was Ishan, and he was accompanying Sanatan Goswami, and they both started going towards Vrindavan. Now they were not going through the main road, because on the main road they would be identified by all the policemen or whatever of the Nawab. So they had to go in a hidden route, and they wanted to stay at a small hotel or a whatever place to stay in the night. And the hotel owner, through some of his astrological friends, came to know that these two people have some money. Now Sanatan Goswami had told that servant Ishan to pay off the jailer with the money. Ishan did a little cheating. He kept 8 gold coins with him. He wanted a little cut. So he kept 8 gold coins, gave the rest to the jailer, but he kept 8 gold coins. That Sanatan Goswami did not know. So through his astrological friends, the hotel owner came to know these people have some money. So he wanted to kill them and take the money. And to do this plot, he began treating or talking very nicely to Sanatan Goswami. Through the Paramatma in his heart, Sanatan Goswami could realize something is wrong. So he asked his servant, are you carrying any money? Because I told you, don't carry any money. We are completely dependent on Krishna. That is our only wealth. Our only treasure is Krishna. But are you carrying any money? He was carrying 8 gold coins. He knew he had been caught. Still, he wanted to save something for himself. And he said, yes, I am carrying 7 gold coins, because he knew that Sanatan Goswami will take it. So he said, I am having 7 instead of 8. So Sanatan Goswami realized that he is still trying to keep 1 gold coin, and his intentions are not right. So he said, okay, give me the 7 gold coins. He took the 7 gold coins and gave it to the hotel owner, saying, I know you want my money. Here is 7 gold coins, and please take it. And he told Ishan, I know you have 1 gold coin. You keep it with you and you also go back. So he let go of Ishan. He gave the whatever gold coins to the hotel owner. And he said, I am completely dependent on Krishna only. And not even dependent on this servant. I don't need anybody. Just Krishna. So just depending on Krishna, he set out towards Vrindavan and started going towards Vrindavan. And there, when he reached Vrindavan, then he started doing his other, started fulfilling the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So like this, Sanatan Goswami. This is the story of the escape of Sanatan Goswami from the jail. We can end with one more last pastime. So we talked about the Madan Mohan deity. We talked about his escape. We talked about his early life. We talked about the temple of Madan Mohanji. When he was going from after this, when he was going towards Vrindavan, as you can imagine from the geography, there is Varanasi or Kashi that falls in the middle. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was returning from Vrindavan and he was going toward Vrindavan. So he got another chance to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Varanasi. And in Varanasi, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave a lot of wonderful instructions to Sanatana Goswami. So many wonderful instructions were given. And a lot of those instructions have been captured in Chaitanya Charitamrita in the last few chapters of Madhya Leela. So those last few chapters of Madhya Leela in Chaitanya Charitamrita are just, jewel after jewel after jewel after jewel of instructions by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I have, had the privilege or the fortune of giving many classes on small verses, which are, each one is like a jewel. There is this one beautiful verse which says, Brahmande Brahmite Kon Bhagyavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhakti Lata Bij. That's the starting verse. It's in the 19th chapter, verse number 151. It starts that whole section from 151 to almost 170 or 175, 25 verses. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful instructions by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on bhakti, how to do bhakti. So again, topic for a different time. So that was the meeting of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sanatana Goswami in Varanasi. Finally, I will end with this one last pastime of Govardhan Parikrama, where Sanatana Goswami, when he was residing in Vrindavan, he had taken a vow to circumambulate, to do parikrama of Govardhan Hill every day, every single day. Now it's not easy. Govardhan Parikrama is very long. It is almost 14 kilometers. So taking a full parikrama of Govardhan every day is not an easy task. And plus, during that parikrama, he would do 1008 dandavats, which means 1008 times he would bow down during the parikrama time. Very, very, very strict and austere vow it was, a sankalpa. So he was following that. And even when he was following that for 50 years, almost 45 or 50 years, when he was very, very old. Then one time Lord Krishna himself came to him as he was doing the parikrama. And he said that, why are you doing such a strict, austere sankalpa? Now you can stop it. You're doing it for me. I am this Govardhan Hill. Krishna and Govardhan Hill are no different from each other. So he's saying, I am the Govardhan Hill. I am telling you, you can stop it. Don't do it. He said, no, I still want to do it. I want to do it. He was insisting, Sanatana Goswami. Then Lord Krishna said, okay, I have a solution for you. Lord Krishna went and brought a Govardhan Shila, a one piece of stone of Govardhan Hill, and he put his foot on that Shila. And a imprint was made, a foot imprint was made on that piece of stone, which is not just an ordinary stone, it is part of Govardhan Hill. And he said, you just circumambulate this one Shila 4 times a day. How long it takes? It takes like 30 seconds to circumambulate a piece of stone that big 4 times. That is equal to your vrata, to your sankalpa, Lord Krishna said. Now I insist, just do this, your sankalp will also be met, plus you don't have to do the full strenuous parikrama. So then Sanatana Goswami agreed. That Shila is present to this day in the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. So if you go to Vrindavan, go to Radha Damodar temple, you will see on the altar, on the main altar, this Shila is kept. And you can see a footprint. And it is said that that footprint belongs to Lord Krishna himself. So you can take darshan of that Govardhan Shila next time you go to Vrindavan. And don't forget to circumambulate the temple 4 times, because if you're circumambulating the temple, you're also circumambulating the Shila. So that's considered very devotional activity to just circumambulate the temple 4 times. It will take hardly 5 minutes to do the full circumambulation of the temple 4 times. Very, very nice devotional activity. So anyway, I thought we will stop here. It is 7 o'clock here in the West Coast of United States. I will go back to that gathering of devotees. And yeah, so just wanted to share. There is so much to share about Sanatana Goswami. And much of what I said has been taken from this book. It is called The 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. I got this book from Vrindavan, and it has detailed account of all the 6 Goswamis. So much of what I spoke has been taken from here. A lot of it has been taken from Chaitanya Charitamrita as well, directly. A lot of description is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And like this, you can, meditate and feel gratitude for Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, all the 6 Goswamis. And like this, you can take inspiration from them and follow in their footsteps. So, Sanatana Goswami ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you for hearing these pastimes, this katha. As it is said, Hari Ananta, Hari Katha Ananta. And Hari Katha is Ananta, not only because Hari Katha includes the Katha of Hari, but it includes the Katha of the thousands of devotees of Hari. That is also Hari Katha. So that is why Hari Katha is even more unending than the unending Lord himself. So today we were fortunate to hear the Katha of one of the greatest devotees of Lord Krishna, Sanatana Goswami. Okay, so any quick questions, comments, anything for today?
Today is Guru Purnima day, Prabhuji.
Yes.
And today we did not utter before Bhagavatam, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Yes, because today we were not doing technically Bhagavatam discussion. Yes, we can say that now. Om Namo
Thank you,
Bhagavate
Prabhuji.
Vasudevaya. Thank you.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thank you. Anything else?
Hare Krishna,
Thank
Prabhuji.
you.
Hare Krishna.
What was that, Prabhuji? Hari Ananta, Hari Katha Ananta. What was that? One more time, please.
It's just one of the lines from one of the devotional songs. It is called, I'm forgetting, what is it called? It is one of the songs which has 40 stanzas that describes the whole Ramayana in a short sort of a composition. I'm forgetting, it's very famous. Anyway.
Okay,
Hari
Prabhuji,
Ananta, Hari Katha
whenever you
Ananta.
remember, maybe whenever you remember, you can email me or something.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. So anything else then? I'm trying to.
Hare
Today
Krishna,
I'm on my
Prabhuji. Thank you.
phone.
Thank you. Happy Guru Purnima day.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
All glories to Prabhupada. He is our primary guru.
Guru.
Okay. Very good. Anything else? Okay. Well, see you next time then in one of the classes, Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam or wherever. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. How to stop the recording?
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna, the news me, Guruji.